Okay, let's just unpack this for a second. Imagine the most powerful man in the world, a Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius.
Right.
A man responsible for millions of people managing these brutal frontier wars, navigating huge political problems, and a plague that was just sweeping the empire.
A massive plague.
And yet, in his private moments, he wasn't writing grand strategy. He was scribbling these raw personal notes about how to handle being tired, how to not get angry at annoying people, and how to govern his own mind.
So what specific knowledge did he have that let him manage all that public duty while at the same time conquering the chaos inside his own head?
Exactly.
That whole contrast, governing the world versus governing yourself, that's really the heart of what we're looking at today.
It really is. And we are doing something a little different here. Discover a new, in-depth approach to book coverage with this extended summary. Unlike our previous review, which is more of a focused analysis, this offers a really comprehensive overview. We're tracing the intellectual roots, the key arguments, and the real-world impact.
And we hope you find it helpful. Your feedback on this expanded format will definitely help shape our future content.
Absolutely.
We also want to mention that you are experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's Notebook for deeper, more dynamic book summaries.
Our subject today is, of course, the collection of philosophical reflections attributed to Marcus Aurelius, known as Meditations.
Let's set the scene a bit.
Yes, context is everything here. Marcus Aurelius was the Roman emperor from 161 to 180 CE. In this book, it's not some polished work meant for the public.
Not at all. It's a raw series of self-addressed moral exercises. A journal, essentially, built on the principles of Stoic philosophy.
And the context of where he was writing is just foundational. These notes were written roughly in the 170 CE, so during the last most difficult decade of his life.
And he wasn't in Rome. Internal clues suggest he was in military camps near places like Sirmium and Aquincum, campaigning along the Danube frontier.
That detail is so critical. He's living this incredibly grueling life, frontier wars, freezing camps, the constant threat of the Antonine Plague. And that is the environment where he's practicing self-control.
This wasn't some abstract philosophy for him. His constant focus on endurance and duty. It was a matter of survival for his army, for the empire itself.
So the book is really Marcus Aurelius talking to himself.
Constantly reminding himself how to stay rational, how to be virtuous, how to be disciplined when faced with, well, immense and unavoidable suffering. The whole story is this internal struggle.
So how is this internal manual structured?
Well, it's divided into 12 untitled books. They're made up of short reflections, aphorisms, sometimes even full arguments. But there's no clear sequential structure.
Ideas just sort of loop around and reinforce each other.
Exactly, and the style reflects that. It's plain, direct, even repetitive. The focus is completely on moral usefulness, not on sounding
It's a private training regimen.
a training regimen. And it's always in the first person, often telling himself what to do. Do this now, remember this principle. He's his own coach.
Book number 1 is interesting because it's different. It doesn't start with these grand principles. It's a list of gratitude. Why start there?
Because for a Stoic, character is built by observing and then internalizing virtue in others. So it's like an inventory of his foundational influences.
He lists specific people.
He does. His mother, who taught him simplicity, his grandfather, who modeled generosity, and most importantly, his adoptive father, Antoninus Pius, who showed him how to be calm and pay unwavering attention to duty.
So he's confirming his roots, the virtues he wants to embody.
That's it, and that sets the stage for the practical work, which really kicks off in books number 2 and 3. The focus shifts hard to inner discipline and the present moment.
Book number 2 hits you right away with this daily exercise. Expect to meet difficult people. Expect difficult things to happen.
And resolve to respond only with reason and inner calm.
But the tool he uses for that is fascinating. Memento mori. The reminder that life is short.
Yes, and he doesn't just mention it. He uses it like a blunt instrument to fight procrastination and distraction. If you only have a short time, why waste a second of it on pointless worry or anger?
Just focus on the rational duty in front of you.
That's the goal.
It sounds simple, but how do you actually train yourself to believe your fame is insignificant when you are, quite literally, the most famous person on the planet?
By constantly, and I mean constantly, adjusting your perspective. He forces his thoughts away from legacy and toward immediate action.
And book number 3 just hammers this home.
It does. Avoid distraction, concentrate completely on your immediate responsibility, and keep what he calls your ruling mind. that rational self free from anger and anxiety.
He sees integrity not as some final destination, but as a continuous series of rational actions in the present.
Precisely. And if you think about it, for an emperor with absolute power, these self-instructions aren't just moral guidance.
They're safeguards.
Necessary safeguards against corruption. Which brings us to book number 4, and what is really the centerpiece of Stoic psychology, the concept of the inner citadel.
Explain that for us. We hear that term inner citadel, but what's the actual mechanism he's describing?
The inner citadel is this core idea that external events, losing money, being insulted, even someone's death, are in themselves neutral.
They're neither good nor bad.
Exactly. The suffering doesn't come from the event itself. It comes from the judgment you attach to it. And that is the mechanism for inner freedom.
So an example would be slow traffic. The event is just slow movement. The suffering comes from the judgment. This is ruining my day.
That's it. That's an opinion you're placing on a neutral event.
Marcus constantly tells himself to withdraw into the citadel where his judgment is the only power he truly has.
He even says obstacles can be turned into fuel for action.
Right. Transforming difficulty into an opportunity. This also connects to his thoughts in book number 4 on constant change, seeing himself as just a small, brief part of a much larger natural order. Then in book number 5, we get this incredibly relatable moment.
Yes.
The struggle of just getting out of bed in the morning to face your duties. Even the emperor had to fight the snooze button.
It's a great moment of vulnerability, but look at how he frames it. He sees that reluctance as a test of his commitment to nature and responsibility.
He tells himself, I rise to do the work of a human being.
He argues that a rational, social being exists to perform work for the common good, not just to chase comfort. And that idea of the common good leads right into the theme of book number 6.
The social fabric of humanity.
Yes, he stresses that human beings are fundamentally social creatures, designed to cooperate. Our actions aren't isolated. They contribute to a larger community governed by nature's law.
So to act selfishly is, for him, unnatural.
Fundamentally unnatural for a rational person. And this view forces him to be tolerant and patient with other people's faults.
Now, before we get into the more cosmic view Marcus takes later on, here's a moment for reflection.
We encourage you to check out Mindful Moments, our YouTube channel. It offers in-depth book analysis, summaries, and critiques, all meant to inspire reflection and rational thought.
It's also, I think, incredibly valuable for aspiring authors who want to deconstruct successful narratives and arguments.
Definitely.
So let's zoom out now. Books number 7 and 8, they shift the perspective from immediate duty to, well, the entire cosmos.
Yes, and this broad view is maybe the most difficult Stoic tool to use, but also the most powerful.
What does he mean by it?
Marcus tries to truly internalize that everything, and he means everything, is coordinated and woven together by a rational fate or nature.
Some individual troubles are just minor.
Minor, and they fit into an overall rational structure that he simply has to accept. He constantly reminds himself, do not wish for things to happen as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do, and you will proceed smoothly.
And book number 8 brings that cosmic view back down to something very personal. Humility. Specifically, tackling the vanity of fame.
Right. When you realize you're just a tiny speck in a vast cosmos, why would you care so much what the other specks standing next to you think?
It's a powerful reframing.
He breaks down the self. You have a perishable body, and you have the rational ruling faculty. Only that second part truly matters, and it has to direct your life according to virtue, not what's popular.
The search for fame is just a distraction.
A total distraction from the only work that matters, perfecting your own character.
Okay, so if you look at books number 9 and 10, they feel like the practical tools for actually living this way.
They are. In book number 9, he deals with the inevitable problem of wrongdoing and insults from others. A corrupt official, a disruptive senator, whatever it is.
And his advice.
It's very practical. Maintain your inner peace by remembering that other people act out of ignorance. Their actions can't harm your inner citadel. Your job is always the same. Maintain your own character and contribute constructively.
That's a radical shift. The person who wronged you should be pitied, not hated. You don't have to waste energy on revenge.
Exactly. Then book number 10 focuses on acceptance, aligning yourself completely with the order of nature. He sees everything that happens, no matter how painful, as part of a long causal chain that was always meant for you.
But that's not passive resignation.
No, not at all. It demands that you respond with appropriate, rational action.
And as we get near the end, Books number 11 and 12 seem to bring all of this advice back to everyday life.
They do. Book number 11 is a collection of practical reflections on cooperation, honesty, modest behavior, basically how to act in a staff meeting, not just how to contemplate the cosmos.
He uses that analogy of body parts working together.
A very powerful one.
Yeah.
The feet, the eyes, the hands, they're all born to work together. If one part acts against the others, the whole system fails. He's reminding himself his duties must serve the whole.
Finally, book number 12 brings it all home, back to the urgency of perspective, the brevity of life.
He concludes by urging himself to prioritize his own rational judgment over the opinions of others. The final lesson is always the same. Keep the ruling mind straightforward and uncorrupted, and live virtuously right now, in this moment, because that's all you have.
So what does this all mean for us? Marcus didn't invent Stoicism.
No, but he provided an unmatched manual for how to apply it. He relies on these core tools: the ruling principle of his rational mind, the belief that the cosmos is an ordered whole, and the need to align his will with nature's law.
These are the mental levers he used to manage the weight of an empire without breaking.
And the legacy is why we're still talking about this 1,800 years later. Meditations is one of the most widely read texts of ancient Stoicism. It inspires so much discussion today on leadership and resilience.
It really asks a fundamental question.
It does. If the most powerful person in the world found peace by looking inward, what excuse do you have?
And that really brings it back to you, the listener.
Since Marcus repeatedly sought to live virtuously in the present and found inner peace despite being at the center of Roman chaos, war, and plague, what specific external circumstance, a terrible commute, a difficult boss, personal anxiety, are you currently using as an excuse to delay your own rational conduct and inner clarity?
If this intellectual summary inspired you to explore the original work and think rationally, click the link on screen for the in-depth book critique. Subscribe, share, and purchase via link. See the many genre-based book podcasts at Mindful Moments. Subscribe and nourish your mind on the go.